Book One is all about the bookstore ride for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founding executive of the Wholeness Network, no other than Miss Mechelle Wingle.
What a great entrance.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Michelle, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Michelle. For so many years, I was just a mom, a stay at home mom, not just, but I was a mom. And then, life kind of brings the upset. It kind of challenges you to transform and create something more with your life. And that's what happened to me. And so I turned to maybe some alternative healing methods to kind of feel better. And it was so helpful. I created a platform where I bring experts together from around the world to kind of teach our little bits of truth and share them on a platform called the Wholeness Network. And we call it kind of a Netflix for wellness. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos, meditations. It's like the best of all the apps, but we do a lot of videos. I really like what we call a visual meditation. I know a lot of people don't like to meditate. So if you can just watch a little movie for a few minutes, it's enough to get you into that state of balance and feeling whole. We like to believe that we are all whole, every one of us. We are divine beings, whole, and yet we're at the same time striving for wholeness. So there's always room for growth, always room for new experiences, and we like to facilitate that growth and to be with you in those times that are maybe difficult. And we have an app that we also, it's a free app, and there's so much on the free app to explore. But we want to be available anytime, anywhere, for whenever and whatever you need. Mostly when you're having a hard time, but also to learn some things and to grow and to explore.
Miss Michelle Wingle, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And what specific societal shift or crisis do you think are driving this intense focus on wholeness right now?
Well, I think that whenever there's a light, which the focus on wholeness is kind of a light, it's reflecting on something that is dark. And I think what's dark is that we don't understand who we really are. We don't understand that divine being within us. I think if we connect with that, if we really understand how the universe and time and eternity think of you as a divine being, it would be much easier to get along, to manifest the things that you desire, to feel healthy and happy. Maybe our health as humans, we have difficulties. Our health becomes strained at times, but we can always be whole, even in that process of unhealth or dis-ease. And it's a perspective that is feels like it might be far away, but we're here, at least if it does, to help bring that a little closer. So I think the difficulty is that I think at the core, we react from places within ourselves that have maybe some fear, some pain, some trauma. And I think once we heal those, things start to get better. But I think the problem is that we don't know our greatness. We don't know this divine sense of who we are.
Is the prominence of wholeness primarily a reaction to our increasingly fragmented lives, or just like a life blur or information overload or social disconnection? How so?
That's a good question. You know, the idea of wholeness wasn't, when we kind of started planning this out, it wasn't really known. When we Googled it, it wasn't being used in the way that we wanted to use it. And I think that it's time for, I think that we can uh, think about, first we got to figure out where we're at. We got to figure out where we're at and be honest and real about that, because I think, you know, even if we're having a hard time, we might say, we might even try to tell ourselves we're not, you know. But if we look at wholeness, we can, it helps us see that being whole requires all of who we are, all of our choices, all of our ups, all of our downs, and that it's all in divine order. And I think that we, once we feel that within ourselves, we can project that out, and that becomes an automatic response toward others.
How does the current conversation about wholeness differ from or build upon and the earlier wellness and self-care movements, Miss Michelle?
That's a great, you know, I for me, this is a really good question for me, because I struggle. I think wellness was kind of, I do have my coaching. I do coaching, but I feel like sometimes in coaching, it's kind of like push through. It's like we put people on pedestals because they've made through, when they've made it through a traumatic event, and then they came out with no problems. Like, we really, really admire that. But that's not the way our bodies are created or that they function. When we go through a difficult thing, our nervous system creates, as it should, a pattern for it to never be repeated again. And we don't understand that. We want to just be able to overcome that. So the ways it used to be was trying to push through, to just, um, in my world, we use a lot of, a lot of times I'll turn to an essential oil, or I'll turn to a crystal, or I'll turn to whatever, these things to help me feel better. But it's not about just pushing through to feel better. We got to look at what's underneath. We got to figure out what there really is. Because if there's something that's not right, we kind of need to address it. So I feel like what's changed is that we're willing to go in the dark. We're willing to allow the hard things to be part of our wholeness, rather than just push through and cheerlead and be heroic beyond it. It's like all of the whole journey. When we get to that place where we've overcome the difficulty, that is a glorious place to be. But that doesn't mean that the journey wasn't purposeful, or wasn't part of our plan, and wasn't part of what is helping us be whole. And so I think now it's just a little bit more of that, more of uh, recognizing and allowing for the whole experience to be there. And when there's difficult experiences, we're not just going to pretend like they're not difficult. It's all part of who we are. So we are going to be in the moment, and in every moment we're whole. And like I say, when we're striving as well, it's like two conflicting things, but they come together in this idea of wholeness. So that's what I would say. I'd say really it's changed, as far as, instead of just hoorah through it, we're gonna sit in it for like maybe a little bit. We're gonna be with you in it. We're gonna have a connection that fuels a transformation, where I think brute force was kind of the way that it has kind of been done before, or just motivation or toughness. And I think it's okay to be gentle, and it's okay to have all the feelings as we go along, and have someone support us in that.
Very well said, Miss Michelle. Very
Mhm.
well said. Beautifully articulated. Wholeness is a concept found in ancient philosophies, religions, and indigenous wisdom. Why is it resonating so powerfully now in our
Mm.
contemporary context?
I think we're ready. I think we're ready to bring all that the generations have done, good and bad, and we're going to bring it all together and find it in balance. I think our logo is the seed of life, or a portion of the flower of life, and we find that symbol in all sorts of cultures across time, and it's really fascinating. There is something special and maybe even magical happening in this moment, where we're bringing all of these truths, all of the wisdom from generations and from different times, and bringing it together. And I think it's no accident that it's coming together at this time. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's great to learn new things. We've got whole bunch of new tools. You know, I can use my platform to teach a chakra video that chakras have been around for thousands of years, but I'm going to use this new technology to teach about it. But that it's kind of this perfect combination of this modern and ancient practices, and how can we take the things that have lasted and add upon them and share them with more and more people, because they do help. They are helpful.
Beyond just feeling good, what are the essential elements that constitute true wholeness?
Mm, the essential wholeness, the essential, yeah, I think first of all, it's a state of being, and it's going to feel different for everybody. And that's one of the things we have to understand is what we're feeling now. And I'm talking feeling in your body. We feel emotions sensationally. We have sensations. We feel so when we are feeling that sense of wholeness, usually it's just a place of balance, a hopefulness, a willingness. Sometimes when we're going through difficult things, it's difficult, but we have this willingness to show up. We're able to explore it rather than fear it. And when those fear feelings come up, because they do, then that wholeness part of us, that whole part of us, can reach out to that feeling and treat it as if it's a child, as if it's a young part of us that needs care and comfort and tenderness. So yeah, I think that we we feel it in our bodies, and we need to figure out what it feels like. It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody, but to really pay attention to that physical feeling and what it feels like. And we have to kind of know what it doesn't feel like to know what it does. And I think a lot of us, we kind of cut off our connection to our bodies for all sorts of reasons, and that's it's our biggest tool. I was told um, that the body is the communicator. It is the thing telling us whether our thoughts are on track, whether our emotions are high or low, whether we're connected or disconnected. So all the mind, body, spirit, soul, they all present within the physical body. It's our greatest tool and gift.
As the founder of the Wholeness Network, Miss Michelle, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, we just started in 2025 our membership program. So you can join the Wholeness Network for it's in US dollars, $5.55 a month. That's less than your favorite drink. It's because our goal is to reach the world. And with that, you get all of the library, and then we actually meet in person once a month. Well, actually, like one in the daytime, one in the nighttime, so that everybody we want to reach everybody. But our goal is to so we just started that this year. So our goal is to grow our network. We want to create a community of safety, and our love live. We call them our love lives. That's our when we meet online, and our we call it love live because we hope, and we invite you to lean in, to open up, to validate and explore and expand together. And so that's our goal, is to help more and more people do that. And in the long run, we hope that we create more groups. We get more and more experts that can come and teach us their amazing things. We have classes that you can buy and that you can be part of, but that are separate from the network. But just to bring a whole bunch of the great wisdom seekers and wisdom makers of the earth to teach and to share and to help grow that feeling of wholeness in whatever way is their particular gift, whatever they have. So to grow and grow and grow, and to hopefully someday you'll turn on your smart TV and there's your wholeness network app.
Congratulations for that advocacy, Ms. Michelle, and looking forward for your success.
Thank you.
And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Want to be like me?
Yes, to be
Well,
entrepreneur and to be at
entrepreneur.
the wholeness network as well.
Yeah, I say, listen, listen inside. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has the thing that makes them shine and makes other people light up. And go inside and find that. I was just talking today. I've got, I'm an intuitive person, and so I get people that reach out and they really want me to give them their answers, and I totally understand that feeling. But I do get my answers, but it's because I keep vigilant my daily routine of, centering, of journaling. I've got reminders in my phone to keep me, checking in on my parts, who I am, the parts of me, and make sure that they're cared for. So that's what I would say. That's go inside, take care of yourself, nurture yourself, treat yourself as if you are a prized child, and from there you will get the answer as far as how you can show up in the world in your best way with your best gifts.
Thank you for your advice, Miss Michelle, and I hope people are listening right now or watching us right now follow your advice. And can you recommend a book that influenced your journey?
Yeah. So on our podcast, the Wholeness Network podcast, it's a great year in 2025. Each month we're taking a book. In the summer we're taking a little break, but we are taking time to focus on some of our favorite books. And so I have plenty on hand. Um, but I will. We're gonna do this book in the fall. But the book that I think is really influencing me, especially right now, is a book called No Bad Parts by Richard Swartz, and it is about parts work, or IFS. And if you haven't heard about that, I it is just I've done lots of trainings. I've been certified in lots and lots of different things. And this model, I just love that it just matches with wholeness so perfectly, because the idea is that everybody is born with what he calls this big S self, that we are born pure. He says it. He's this therapist. He's been a doctorate. He's a doctor of psychology, and he has worked for 40 years with this model. And he says that, no matter what people have been through, they have this piece of them, this core big S self. He says that's connected, that has your answers, that has your place of healing. And as we learn to connect with that, our lives just kind of change. We see ourselves not as this broken person, but as a what he calls a self-led person. So we have these parts of us, and it comes up naturally. Sometimes we'll say, somebody will invite us somewhere, and we'll really feel like a part of me wants to go and a part of me does not. And it's really just about really listening to those two parts and honoring those two parts. And so sometimes when we're having an uncomfortable time, more often than not, we're what he calls blended with a part. We're making decisions from this part that has some kind of wounding. And when we can, uh, go within and ask that part, what do we need? And a lot of times, there's another part. A lot of times it'll be like, no, this is really how it is. And there's like this other part that's maybe protective. And all parts are that are kind of having a hard time, they're protecting us. They're all there for protection. And so it's about learning to dialogue with these inner parts, and really loving them, and listening to what they have to say, and to learn to speak for them rather than from these parts. So it's a great book. He also has a book, um, for relationships, that's the best relationship book ever. So that's the book I would recommend, even though I have so many. I love, love, love books.
Thank you for your recommendation, Miss Michelle. And hoping people listening right now will read it and will be empowered. How can the language of wholeness be misused to avoid dealing with necessary personal work or difficult emotions or societal problems?
Yeah. Well, I think we're so programmed that um, we're supposed to have certain things in our life, whether that's health or wealth or good relationships. Um, of course, we all want those things, but to live a whole life is more, is also about everything in between. And so I think we get in the way when we only think that we're whole, or that we can feel good, or be justified, or be our lives can have meaning only when things are good. I think the you know in January we talked about on the podcast, we talked about a book called The Big Leap, and he's convinced that we can feel good for the rest of our lives. And I think that that might sound difficult for people, but it's not because we're going to just cheer ourselves up and make ourselves feel good no matter what. It's because we're going to go through and heal the parts that are wounded, and the parts that can't allow us to feel good for whatever reason. And it's always surprising to find the reasons, because they're really they're valid. They're valid reasons. There's valid reasons why we need to react a certain way or be a certain way. And so, yeah, I think that people, the misunderstanding is that, we're just trying to get somewhere. And that's the thing, is wholeness is always in progression. There is no where, it's the journey. It's the journey that is um, the the beautiful journey. And sometimes we don't see that until the journey is done, but it's possible to find it now. It's possible to be there now. And that's wholeness in the good sense.
Good indeed. What are the some tangible daily practices that genuinely foster a sense of
Mhm.
greater wholeness for people living busy modern lives?
Yeah, I get it when it's like I don't have a lot of time. I just want to say I understand that feeling. I really, really do. And if time is something you need more of, that's, your first step is to start hoping for, manifesting, and looking for that spare time. That's where you can begin. But there is I do really, really advocate for a morning practice. And so, like, and that's the library part of it's the library, is, that's why the videos sometimes they're 5 minutes long. Some of the meditations, maybe they're 10, maybe 15 minutes long at the most. But it's like, that's what my kind of hope was, is it was like, instead of going, how do I, to me, a daily routine to get myself centered, to get myself feeling empowered, to help me be ready for the day. A morning routine is really important to me. So if you want to, if you take a little bit of video, watch a little video, that's it. You've done it. You're just trying to get into this space where you come to center. You can take a deep breath down in your belly, and you feel empowered toward the day. So it takes that's my thing, is just to begin the day with just a few minutes. It can be 5 minutes of time. I have a card deck you can buy on the website, where it's called the Morning Thrive, and it gives you something to do every day. The videos, there's a whole video library of over 400 videos to help you. But that morning routine, that just, or maybe yours is at night, but sometimes set aside to just, so that your goal in that moment is just to feel better. And it works. It does. It works to just feel better, um, when you have the intention to do so.
Miss Michelle, what has your own journey of understanding and seeking wholeness taught you that might surprise people?
Um, they might. I'd probably be surprised that one of the things that was really helpful for me was couples therapy. And me and my husband have been going to couples therapy. We're in our fifth year, and I don't know if we'll ever end, because I appreciate so much having a partner in my relationship. I feel like it's kind of like having a personal trainer at the gym. She's like a personal trainer in my relationship. And so I learned so much about going through therapy, about myself, and about what is mine and what is not mine. And I had to learn that kind of the hard way. I, had to think about, I had to go through my journey of, I was the youngest, I was the extra little child at the end of a big family. I was the surprise. And my parents didn't get along very well. They weren't kind to each other. And it caused a lot of trauma in my life. And of course, created a lot of projections toward my husband. And then he had his life. Now, me and my husband are born on the same day, and we were born in the same hospital. So we should have a magic fairy tale. And we do. We have a great relationship. But I just
Yes.
share that, like, even us who thinks it should be fairy tale, we needed some help to figure out how to communicate on the same page. And we learned so much from therapy. So I think people are often, they think that I must have it all together. And I just want to say, no, I'm in the striving too. I'm striving the same as y'all. I'm trying to discover my wholeness on a daily basis. And some days it's not there. Some days it's rough. And what I do on those days is pause. I don't spiral, and I don't give up hope. I just pause and take care of myself, and I don't let that feel like that is too much or unnecessary. I allow for those days, and I don't like them, but I allow them.
Very well said, Miss Michelle. Very well said. Beautifully articulated. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course my book 101 review in its fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and of course my food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Michelle, if wholeness is the universe, collective unconscious whispering to us right now, what do you feel it's most urgently inviting humanity to remember or embody?
Mm, I think to remember, like, to remember our that divinity, that divine self, that gift of being here. I've never met a person. Again, I'm an intuitive type person. I've never met somebody who didn't. I didn't recognize that divine self in. And if it's in the way, if we can't see it, or if it's difficult to see, then we know there's a lot of wounding there. And so if we can, that's the remembering is, and that's what I think we're being called to remember, is this divine part of who we are, that we are the spark of God, each of us. And to really embody that, I think if we embody that, we change the world.
We changed the word totally if we embodied what Miss Michelle talking about. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, Miss Michelle, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy as well as your podcast, as well as your business itself?
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to connect. We're the Wholeness Network. You can meet us at thewholenessnetwork.com. We are the Wholeness Network on all the social media platforms. And the app is called the Wholeness Library, or Wholeness Library on Apple and Google. And our podcast is called the Wholeness Network Podcast, and it's everywhere you get podcasts too. So yeah, we invite you to be part of our group, part of our network. You're welcome. You're welcome there.
I want to be part to your network, Miss Michelle. And yes, people, let's support Miss Michelle Wingle because if you support her, more and more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. More and more empowering coaching to come for sure, and more empowering business to come. So, Miss Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Good luck with all you've got going too.
Thank you so much. More to come, people. See you soon.